So my favorite guy, Marcus Ely, he did on his Facebook a nice little list of all the Democrats that have voted to deregulate our economy. Would you like to see that list and how much money they've taken? Well, looky here. You got Senator Michael Bennet, $3,315,931. $931. So that's Michael Bennet of Colorado. He's taken over $3 million from Wall Street, and he's voted, shockingly, to deregulate the big banks that took down our economy just 10 years ago. Then you got Tom Carper, the great state of Delaware, $843,000. Then you got Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, $571,000. Senator Joe Donnelly up for re-election this year, Indiana, $779,102. Senator Maggie Hassan, $421,000. She literally was just elected in 2016. I recall she was speaking for Hillary Clinton at one of her rallies in New Hampshire. She was the governor of New Hampshire, so she's already taken $421,000, and she's not even been a senator for a year and a half. Congratulations, Senator Hassan. Senator Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota fame, $645,388. She is up for re-election this year, and she has taken a lot of money in just a few years as a senator from Wall Street. Then you got Senator Doug Jones of Alabama, literally just elected in that special election. He beat a child molester. Congratulations to Doug Jones. Already $417,000 from Wall Street. Then you have U.S. Senator Tim Kaine, would have been vice president, loves speaking at rallies in Spanish to the Latino population, taken $1,644,000 and $1,644,469. Stronger Together. Angus King, independent from Maine, votes with the Democrats, $250,000 from Wall Street. Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, $448,000. He's up for re-election. Senator Claire McCaskill, $1,714 up for re-election this year. Senator Bill Nelson of Florida, $1,550,000 up for re-election this year. Senator Gary Peters, $912,000. Senator Jean Shaheen, $867,000. Debbie Stabenow of Michigan, $1,558,000. John Tester of Montana, $1,713. He's up for re-election. Now, and thank you, Marcus Ely. He was a reporter with Truth Against the Machine. Go check out his page on the Facebook. It is facebook.com/All-American-Brumman. All-American-Brumman. Not positive what the hell that means. So, why is this important? Why is it important to call out these Democrats? Why is it important? Because the Republicans cannot pass this toxic legislation without the Republican lights pretending to be representatives and stewards of the people. Like, Michael Bennet, a senator from Colorado, has taken over $3 million from Wall Street. The man who would be our vice president right now, Tim Kaine. I mean, look at that. $1,644,000. He's only been senator for a few years. I mean, this is shameful. This is oligarchy. This is what oligarchy looks like. This is what legalized bribery looks like. And you want to know something? I don't want to hear it from the Tom Watsons on social media and the Neera Tandons and the establishment puppets that protect these Democrats. You know what? Are these Democrats better than Republicans in terms of the female reproductive system? Absolutely. And that's a good thing. Are they better on social policy? Absolutely. But let's make no mistake. People are most interested in their wallet. People are most interested, can they put food on the table for their kids? I can't tell you how many times I went around the country and every single person I spoke to had economic struggle and in a lot of cases, economic despair to the point of desperation. So these other issues that Democrats might be better on are, it's not that they're not important, but we're living in a time where you basically have 16 Democrats and a lot more that vote with them on other stuff masquerading as, protectors of the people. Hillary Clinton at the DNC, she said, don't forget, we're the party of working people. Back to this list. This is not the working people that they're taking money from. They're taking money from Wells Fargo, who just got caught defrauding minorities again. They're taking money from Bank of America. They're taking money from JP Morgan Chase. I mean, all the banks that took down the economy just 10 years ago. Are we that desensitized that this is okay? Are we that desensitized that this is okay? And by the way, when you look at corporate media, when you look at the things that are covered right now, while the economy is supposedly doing stronger, even though, as Bernie points out, he wrote a piece for The Guardian, half the people are living paycheck to paycheck. Majority of people have bad health care. Majority of people are underemployed. Majority of people have to work longer hours for less pay. While this is all going on, they're talking about Stormy Daniels and that tit for tat with the president on TV. Well, last time I checked, if the president had sex with Stormy Daniels or she was paid off, is not going to be the determining factor whether you could afford groceries this week, or whether you could make your rent, or whether you can pay off that student loan bill that the majority of you have. But none of that is covered. And interestingly enough, or maybe not interestingly, Politico comes out with a piece basically saying, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here with this deregulation bill that's deregulating all the big banks. I'll read you some of this. This is from Politico. Hold on. Nellie Liang spent 6 years running the Federal Reserve's Financial Stability Division, whatever that is, which was created after the financial crisis of 2008 to try to prevent another one. So she has paid close attention to the bipartisan legislation the Senate passed this week to loosen some bank regulations. He writes it as some bank regulations. Liberal critics like Elizabeth Warren have savaged the bill as a recipe for the next financial catastrophe, an egregious sellout to Wall Street, and a dramatic rollback of the Dodd-Frank financial reforms. Liang's expert analysis is meh. Quote, "It's fine," said Liang, who is now a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. "It's not perfect, but I was afraid they would do something terrible. This definitely preserves the core of Dodd-Frank protections. I'm not upset about it." Oh, she's not upset about it. Okay, before I read any more of that, let me remind you, if those of you who maybe weren't into politics during the late 1990s, those of you that weren't paying attention during the 2000s, because Bernie woke a lot of people. You guys might have not necessarily been awake or that politically active. Well, in the late 90s, when Bill Clinton was, loosening derivatives, regulation on derivatives, when Bill Clinton was passing the repeal of Glass-Steagall, which allowed commercial banks and investment banks to basically merge, people like the person I just quoted who said meh were saying meh then. People were saying, oh, this is a great thing. It's gonna foster more investment, aka by rich people who don't actually invest in working people. They invest so they can buy more yachts. Let's keep it real. So they said in the 90s, oh, this whole repealing derivatives, nothing to see here. This won't be a big deal. By the way, that's what caused the financial crash. Repealing Glass-Steagall and deregulating derivatives. Just like deregulating the telecom industry, another Bill Clinton, fantastic choice by Bill Clinton, which I write about in Corporate Con Job, my book, Chapter 2. That's patreon.com/Jordan Chariton for that one. So, 90s, they tell you no big deal. They're not doing, it's just a little tweak here and there. Not going to be a big deal, not going to hurt you. It's going to foster more investment. And looky, what's happening? And we know what happened. We know what happened. The economy collapsed. The global financial economy collapsed. You're probably still recovering. I spoke with union people in Detroit. I remember interviewing a bunch of union workers, auto workers at a Detroit diner about how their 401ks had been cut almost over a half, 3/4 of their 401k gone. Troy says it best, I am still in economic recovery. Well, not according to Donald Trump, not according to CNN and MSNBC, who say the economy is doing just great, just fantastic. It's not. I've seen it, and we all know that's not true. So let me read you just a little bit more of Politico's, frankly, blowjob. Excuse my French. There are plenty of legitimate questions about why Congress feels the need to provide regulatory relief to banks that are already enjoying record profits, and whether some of the bill's tweaks to Dodd-Frank will make the financial system less safe. But the doomsday rhetoric about those tweaks and the political rift they are creating within the Democratic Party seem extreme compared to their substance. The Senate bill leaves the vast majority of the Dodd-Frank reforms in place, which is why House Republicans who hate Dodd-Frank are already signaling they won't allow it to become law. The critiques of the bill as a giveaway to Wall Street megabanks seem particularly overblown. Very few of its changes would affect the dozen or so institutions that pose the largest potential dangers to the financial system. I don't know what this guy's smoking, but even the Democrats have said this will repeal some of the regulation for the big banks. Well, why would you be repealing any of the regulation for the big banks? The same big banks that, as Bernie says, too big to fail, still. The same big banks that are continuing to have record bonuses. The same big banks, did you know that they're repackaging student loans like they did putting together these crappy mortgages of homes? Now they're doing it with student loans. So if you have student loans, make sure you know where those loans are being packaged. And if you like this reporting, go support me now, patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. If I didn't say, I'm going to be live Monday night while Bernie is doing this town hall. I'm going to be responding to his town hall on oligarchy, and I'm also going to be talking live to my audience because I want to share people's stories of how the oligarchy is affecting them. We need to get everyday people's stories back out there. We need to get everyday people's stories back out there. We can't keep, having pundits go on who are far removed from everyday people, explaining what the American people want, and this is the state of the American economy. No. None of these people actually get out there to talk to living, breathing American citizens. I want to read you just a little bit more of this asinine piece. One second. So, the Senate bill, drafted by Banking Committee Chairman Mike Crapo of Idaho and supported by 16 Democrats, mostly aims to boost small community banks, which do not tend to create much systemic risk when they fail. The nation's 6,500 community banks have outsized political clout, and even Senator Warren supports relieving some of their post-crisis regulatory burdens, which they blame for their declining numbers, tepid rural lending, and other business problems they face. Still, while the bipartisan Senate bill goes nowhere near as far as the partisan House bill that would gut just about all of Dodd-Frank, it does relax some restrictions on larger regional banks with assets of between $50 billion and $250 billion. A few of the Senate bill's provisions also introduce ambiguities that the critics believe will enable excessive risk-taking by Wall Street behemoths. Quote, no, it is not an undoing of Dodd-Frank, said Michael Barr, who helped craft Dodd-Frank when he was an assistant Treasury Secretary under Obama, but I think it's a significant mistake. Well, here's the bottom line, folks. Here is the bottom line. You know, would you, hold on one second. Would you, if somebody went out and committed murder, right? And killed a lot of people, that person probably wouldn't be let out of jail. He probably would have a life sentence or whatever. But let's say he got off at parole, with parole. Would you then hand him a gun? So the analogy, why is it that when the big banks of this country wrecked the economy, we should not be repealing even one page of regulations for big banks? If anything, they should be still repaying the American citizens. Because make no mistake, those of you who lost 401k, you did not, the banks didn't pay you back for it. Those of you who lost your homes, did they pay for a new home for you? No. Those of you who lost so much money, you defaulted on your student loans? No. So they talk about, you said it right, Eric, different rules for them. So all we hear about in this hysterical corporate media that we have is about the attacks on democracy by Russia and the Russian trolls, and Trump is attacking our institutions. Well, let me be clear, as Bernie says. Our institutions have been attacking the American people for decades, and there has not been enough accountability for those institutions. Ian says, still waiting for my bailout. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And press the share button, get this out to more people. You are not being bailed out. That's for shit sure. You are not being bailed out. And the people that wreck the economy because they continue giving the money to your public servants, they get to do whatever they want. And interestingly enough, don't forget to plug my Twitch channel. Jen, my business partner, will put in the description here the address to my Twitch. I am also live on Twitch. So that's a good thing. Now, and let me know if you could hear me, if you could see me still. I'm getting some audio complaints, but overall, I think most people are hearing me well. Now, so like everything with corporate media, they're all corrupt. So the guy who wrote this article, let me find it. His name is, where does it say who wrote it? Oh, Michael Grunwald. Michael Grunwald, right? Michael Grunwald wrote the article. Well, guess who Michael Grunwald is, folks? This is from 2013. Former Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner has tapped Michael Grunwald, the senior national correspondent for Time magazine, to help him write his forthcoming book about the financial crisis. Quote, I'm writing his book. In writing his book, former Secretary Geithner will collaborate with Michael Grunwald, a senior national correspondent for Time magazine. Grunwald, who declined to comment, will help Geithner write the book, but will not be named as a co-author. As a former Washington Post reporter, he has written 2 books under his own name, The Swamp, The Everglades, Florida, and the Politics of Paradise, and The New Deal, The Hidden Story of Change in the Obama Era. So that's who wrote, basically, meh, no big deal about the rollback of Dodd-Frank. A guy who basically ghost wrote the book for former Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, who, if you recall, Timothy Geithner played a tiny little part in making sure awful banks, awful criminals, and that's what they are. These bankers are criminals, yet they're not treated like criminals. So there are more people arrested in America for smoking or dealing pot than bankers go to jail for taking down the global economy and stealing your money. Let that sink in. There are more people in America that go to jail for pot, for selling pot, For all sorts of dumb things. While these bankers, who Michael Grunwald writes, rolling back Dodd-Frank, it's just a small little thing, not to worry. While I ghost wrote Timothy Geithner's book, who helped make sure that the criminal bankers got hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of your money.